How were so many people fooled by Bernie Madoff? And what about crypto or fake art? The world is full of fraud, but someone has to fall for it.
A new book examines why. It's called Nobody's Fool, Why We Get Taken In and What We Can Do About It. Daniel Simons is a professor at the University of Illinois, and he's a psychologist and co-author of the book. Good morning. Thanks for being with us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Well, it seems like, we all love these stories. The Tinder swindler went nuts on Netflix, and we all watch, but these scams still happen. Even though people are watching these things, what are we not learning?
I think that's one of the key elements of it. These cons are really entertaining. They're engaging. But whenever you're watching a show about a con, you know that there's a con involved. So you're looking for the red flags. You're watching to see whether people will fall for it. But you're not really putting yourself into the situation of the victim, of the mark. So you don't think about how you would react in the moment without knowing that you were being scammed.
And this isn't something, dumb people versus smart people. I read your book, Invisible Gorilla, which was fascinating about this case study that maybe is a good example of this. What does the Invisible Gorilla show?
Well, that was a study that Chris Chabris and I did many years ago, in which we had people watch a video and count how many times players wearing white shirts passed a ball, and they were ignoring players wearing black shirts passing their own ball. And at some point during the video, a person in a gorilla suit enters the scene, turns and faces the camera, thumps its chest, and then walks off the other side. And we find that about half the time, people don't notice that a person in a gorilla suit went through. And I think what this reveals is that we really tend to focus on the information that's right in front of us, what we're trying to do, and we don't necessarily notice things that aren't within our focus. The same thing applies in these sorts of cons and scams, that if you're focusing your attention on all of the aspects of the con because you know it's a con, you're not going to be aware of all of the other things that might happen if you were the one being conned. So when you're being conned, you're paying attention to the con artist, you're paying attention to what they're offering you, but you're not necessarily aware of all of the things they're not telling you.
Give us an example of how we might look for red flags in just our everyday life, whether it's a dating website, whether it's a financial person that we're working with. Give us something we can use.
Yeah, so there are a lot of red flags that can come up in a lot of cons. One of them that's really common right now that's affected a number of students at the University of Illinois is what's known as the call center scam. So people will call people up, and it might be somebody who, for example, is on a student visa, and they'll say, you filled out your visa application wrong, and the police are coming right now to arrest you, and we're going to deport you back to wherever you came from. And what they often will ask people to do is go and buy prepaid cash cards and read the number over the phone, but they put a lot of pressure on you, a lot of anxiety and stress on you right at that moment. One quick thing, if anybody ever asks you to pay for anything by prepaid cash card, it's almost certainly a scam. That's just not how real organizations work. So that's a big red flag right there.
Yeah.
But one thing to keep in mind is that anytime somebody's putting time pressure on you in that sort of high stakes way, it's almost never that urgent. Right?
Yeah.
It's almost
That's
always
true.
going to be a scam. So that's a big one, that deal that's going to evaporate or disappear, or you have to pay right now or you're going to jail. Those are almost always red flags of scams.
What's interesting about the Theranos scandal with they have a blood test and they sucked in all these investors and endorsements from really big, smart, powerful people. Is that an example of we're just not as smart as we think we are? What went wrong there?
I think a number of things went wrong. It's easy when you see somebody who's a victim of a scam to say, oh, I never would have fallen for that. They were just gullible, right? But that's just not true. It's a question of whether the scams are targeting you. So if you look at the board of Theranos, it included retired generals and admirals, retired secretaries of state, really prominent, accomplished people. And a lot of people invested a lot of money in Theranos. Partly, I think it was the appeal of this sort of innovation, wanting to get in first, wanting to be involved. The story was great. But one thing that's really interesting about that is the people who invested and were on that board generally were not experts in biotech. Right? They were experts in other things. And there's a really strong tendency among people who've been very successful to think, I can trust my gut, I can evaluate people, I can judge whether they're going to be misleading me, when really that's not true if it's somebody who's very good at deceiving.
Well, the book is called Nobody's Fool, and you can follow Dan Simons on the social media. Thank you so much, Dan.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Dan.
it.
Thank you so much for having me on.